Yo, what's going on, guys? And I'm right now on the way to Portsmouth, but if you guys watch that Grizzlies Warriors game, you know the Warriors are going against the Houston Rockets. I want to hear your thoughts. Two intense fan bases. Who do you think's going to win and how many games and why? Will the vets Jimmy Butler, Curry, and Draymond and company be able to beat M.A. Udoka, Alpi, Jalen Green, who I think's actually had an underrated year as he's grown as a player and matured, and just that entire team that is actually thriving with Alpi, Amen Thompson, and Steven Adams sometimes on the floor together. It's wild. I want to hear your thoughts. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you just want to hear my prediction, go to the end of the video, usually the last minute or two. I do want to say that I would not be surprised if this is a lock to be a 7-game series. These two teams are wild. So we're going to start with the Warriors just because we just watched them. They're fresh in everybody's mind. And then that way we can evenly compare them to the Rockets. Now, the Warriors are a team that on the season, I know that their stats for the season differ from their stats since the trade deadline. And I think we're going to have to use the stats from the trade deadline to give a comparison that is accurate due to the fact that these are two different teams. And as I mentioned in the preview for the play-in, I was at the Warriors-Blazers game as a credential media, and I was talking to Steph Curry at the press conference, and I asked him, obviously, Jimmy being there in the creation, one of the things they were talking about was how the ball was moving, and just look at their record, how it, is evident for how different this team is. So those are the stats we're going to use. If you guys want to know where I got these stats, StatMuse, I used and typed in Warriors player stats since February 6, 2025. If you guys have any discrepancies, go and put, a complaint towards StatMuse. Hit that like and subscribe button, though, for me. So Curry is still that cornerstone offensive cog who, even in this game against the Grizzlies, they were able to get it done with Curry dropping 37 and Butler having 38. Only two other players were in double digits, and that was Quinn Post and Gary Payton. And that's one thing I would like to note is Gary Payton, Buddy Hield, and Kevon Looney were the three-man off the bench with a little bit of Guy Santos. No Kuminga or Trace Jackson Davis, with B-Pod, Moody, Curry, Butler, and Green being the starting lineup, and Gary Payton coming in for B-Pod and Curry, and Buddy Hield coming in for Jimmy Butler and Moody, and then Draymond Green being relieved by, or Jimmy Butler being relieved by Quentin Post. So I think that's going to be the main rotation right there, as B-Pod this year's been the breakout guard with solid, playmaking efficiency, 15 and 6 and 4 since the February 6th. Obviously, Jimmy Butler averaging that 18 and 6, and we saw what he did tonight. Draymond being reinvigorated since that trade, averaging 10, 6, and 6. And then, as I mentioned, they've been using Moody as that fifth starter, 11 points, 1.5 steals. He's just this 3-and-D wing for them who's just aggressive defensively. Quinn Post and Buddy Hield are these shooters in the second unit that give spacing and can play off ball next to either with Hield, Curry, and B-Pod and Jimmy Butler, and Quinn Post, same thing, but with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green being the other two. Now, the reason why they're using Gary Payton, I think it could change who that third guy is situationally, with Gary Payton being just an elite defensive stopper who can guard both guards and wings and still is effective. 60% field goal since that trade. Due to the fact that, again, multi-positional guy, even though he's undersized, can play 1, 2, or 3, can guard 1 through 4 arguably. And Guy Santos over everybody else is, yeah, he isn't, like, he can score if you need him to, but he's just probably out of the rest of the players, he's the biggest hustler who can be a, like, third playmaker in terms of be a passer, connector, transition, rebounds, has size, can play the 2, the 3, or the 4. So he just fits what they need right there. And let's go over to the Rockets, where the Rockets are deeper, guys. As much as you might like the Warriors, the Rockets are 14th in points per game, which is crazy to think about, as they're a better defense than offense, and their offense is, scoring wise, middle of the road. And I've always told you guys that teams that are top 15 and top 10 in both categories, one being top 15, the other being top 10, are teams that typically make the NBA finals, or at least the conference finals. They're 7th in net rating. Their true shooting is 24th, which is something, you know, that leaves room for efficiency improvement. But, and again, going with that, 20th in 3-point percentage, 21st in field goal percentage. But what I think is the Rockets do struggle from the line, but the Warriors rely heavily on threes. And the Rockets, yeah, their assist to turnover ratio is 1.6, and that's just because they don't lead the league in assists as a team. However, they're way more safer in the way that they do things. And maybe you could say their creativity isn't as thoughtful as the Warriors, but I think it is efficient because their repetitiveness works. They get steals. Alperen Şengün might not be like your traditional rim protector, but he's become a good defender. They're 6th in opponent field goal percentage. They make teams shoot bad against them. They're 11th in 3-point percentage. So I think the Rockets are better defensively overall. Even though you could look at the page and say the Warriors generate more steals, it's very marginally different. And that's the other thing. The Rockets are number 1 in rebounds, number 1 in offensive rebounds. What do we say all the time? Rebounding the basketball, especially offensive rebounds, wears down your opponent's morale physically. Why? Because you get to physically impose your will on your opponent. When your opponent has to just take you possession after possession, specifically on offense, watch you create second chance opportunities where they feel like even if you're going to miss, they don't stand a chance of getting the ball, because you're just going to keep getting the ball and creating yourself second chances. And that's part of the reason why this team's field goal percentages are down, is because they don't care that they miss. They know that they have everybody chasing their shots. They have everybody closing out. They have Şengün and Steven Adams and even Jabari Smith at times looking for rebounds, and that's the biggest thing for them. And they're 8th in defensive rebounds too, so that kickstarts fast breaks. And as I said, your opponent just feels defeated mid-game because already they're bruised and battered by you just grabbing these balls. That sounded weird, but pause. Just going after, I was going to say loose balls, but like that's also problematic. So going after the hustle plays, and that's not just offensively, but, you know, on both ends of the floor. So the Rockets are going to dominate the boards, particularly offensively, and that could wear down the Warriors. So a team that is strong in field goal percentage, defensive field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage allowed is a solid net rating. Yeah, their free throw percentage and their assist numbers and their efficiency leaves room to be desired, while the Warriors are top 4 in three-point makes, which I think right there in itself is one of the most damning things, is that if you can stop the Warriors from shooting threes, which let's break down this roster, and force them to turn the ball over and out rebound them. The Warriors are already a low rebounding team, not like on the bottom half of the league, and they aren't disciplined, they foul, and they have a high turnover rate. If you can exploit that, and they're already a middle of the pack shooting percentages, it's not like they're like an elite, they just make a lot of threes, but they'll also take a lot of threes. So to me, when I look at this, let's just break it down. Let's look at this roster. You got yourself, first off, I actually love how Jabari Smith Jr. is kind of their sixth man now, and it's made him become more efficient, as I think he doesn't worry about being benched and he just comes in with the green light. So shout out Ime Udoka for doing that. And I know it's a down year for Fred VanVleet, but he's still a gritty guy who can get hot from any moment, averages over 1.5 steals a game. Yeah, he shot 38% from the field this year, but averaged 14 points and 6 assists. He's going to put threes up. Jalen Green, say what you want about him. This year, 54.4% true shooting, which is just about league average. And he averaged 3.5 assists, almost 5 rebounds, 21 points a game. And I've said this before. One thing Jalen Green can do is Jalen Green can score as good as anybody in the league. Whoever your favorite 30-point per game scorer is, Jalen Green has the ability, I'm not saying to do it consistently, but has the ability to do that one night every few weeks when he gets hot. You have your defensive tone setter and what's become an efficient 3-and-D wing in Dylan Brooks, almost 56% true shooting, 39%, basically 40% from 3, 4 rebounds, 14 points from him. Amen Thompson, arguably the best defensive player on the perimeter in the league now. I forget who said this, but somebody wrote in the pre-draft that he was a 6'8" lankier version of Ben Simmons. Like, obviously Ben Simmons 6'10", but like imagine him lanky and with like upper echelon athleticism, and that comparison might be to a T, and even he might be better than that. 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 60% true shooting, 1.5 steals per game. Insane transition player on both ends of the floor. Versatile slasher, great rebounder, dude. A guy who can play the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. Like, he's just a Swiss Army knife for them. And then Alpi, Şengün, the centerpiece of the offense. Baby Jokic. I think he's better than Sabonis at this point, but like in the same type of player mold, just centerpieces of the offense. Their unique blend of passing and scoring and low block like control is amazing. And then you have the 3-and-D rebounding, shot blocking forward who now averages 7 rebounds a game and 12.5 points on 36% from 3. Above league average true shooting and 56% from Jabari. Then another elite top 15 defender in the league in Tari Easton, who also averages 12 and 6.5 points and almost 2 steals a night. Just great two-way player. And if they need to break the glass, obviously Steven Adams, how do we forget about him? Just the bruiser and rebounding presence. He comes off the bench for like 14 minutes now and gives you like 6 boards, an assist, and like a block. And if they need to break the glass, they have Aaron Holiday, who's a solid spot-up shooter, and Cam Whitmore, who's been an explosive scorer as an athletic wing for them in limited minutes. And then same thing with Jae'Sean Tate, another undersized defensive forward who hustles, and Jeff Green, the veteran, who can occasionally play stretch 4 or other combo forward minutes. And that's where you just look at this and you just say, God dang, who's going to win this? I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I think this might be like one of the guaranteed 7-game series in this year's playoffs. And I think whoever wins this is also the dark horses. I think I've said it that the Clippers are like my dark horses for sure. And I get curious by who's going to go ahead and win this due to the fact that the Rockets might be able to just have a deeper roster and just throw so many different combinations of players that I don't know if the Warriors are going to be able to, like, I think both teams are capable of playing and beating the other team in an oppressive matchup, but I think the thing that catches my attention the most is, do the Warriors have enough different looks besides either the two looks that I think that they have? That it's not that they don't have more looks than this, but the two things that they're going to try to do is they're going to obviously try to win with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry as their like last resort. But the way that they're going to want to win is Curry, Butler, Moody, Buddy Hield, Quinn Post, and whoever they want off the bench to just have a great scoring night. And then same with B-Pod. So the Warriors have the edge in offensive efficiency. Like, they rank top 5 in true shooting and three-point make. And not top 5 in true shooting. I mean, top 5 in three-point makes in like terms of being a three-point shooting team. They're middle of the pack in their shooting numbers. And yeah, Curry, B-Pod, and Post provide, and Buddy Hield provide great floor spacing. But the combination of Dillon Brooks, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, even you could say Jabari Smith in there, and Alperen Şengün a little bit, provide Houston with way more switchable length and defensive pressure. Like, the Rockets have like 4, maybe 5 lockdown point of attack defenders, while the Warriors have 2, maybe 3, and Gary Payton, Moses Moody, and Jimmy Butler, and I guess 4 and Draymond Green. Curry's still the top player, but Şengün's just as good, if not better, than Jimmy Butler. Jalen Green's just as good as a scorer as those guys. And yeah, the Warriors are a top-tier team in assist to turnover ratio, led by like Draymond, Butler, and Curry. But I think with Amen Thompson, Steven Adams, Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith, and Tari Eason pushing the tempo and crashing the glass hard, they're going to have the athleticism in the transition offense and defense advantage with the Rockets. Well, yeah, the Warriors technically are the better shooting team across the floor. The Rockets are able to score competently with a combination of slashers and mid-level shooters. And the Rockets led the league in total rebounds. All the aforementioned players help dominate the boards. And I think the Rockets have like a better bench. They have 4 double-digit bench scores if they need to. Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Whitmore, and Holiday. And I think the Warriors bench is way more defined. Like, if you look at this, Curry versus Van Vliet, Curry's going to win that, like, on the offensive side, but Van Vliet can bother him with good defense and physicality. B-Pod versus Green, I think that's going to stress the Warriors' help rotations, so the Rockets have the slight advantage there. And obviously, Dillon Brooks versus Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's the better creator and scorer, but Brooks is going to play a disruptive role defensively. Draymond's a defensive-minded and facilitator, so on offense, they're going to stick Amen Thompson onto whoever's having the hot night. His energy and athleticism is going to knock that out. And Şengün, Adams, and Smith going against Looney, Post, and whoever else they want to try out there. I just think Şengün's going to be the guy who's going to take advantage of the Warriors' lack of a big that can match him one-on-one. And I don't know who the Warriors' X factor is. Is it going to be Kuminga? Is it going to be Post? Is it going to be Buddy Hield to stretch the floor and drag Şengün out and the Warriors win by a major spacing? I think the Rockets' energy, their potential shooters in Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, and their bench having explosions could swing one or two games at the very least. And I know a lot of people want to say the Warriors in 7, their elite shooting experience and ball security will outweigh Houston's youth and energy, rebounding edge and depth, but just barely. And that's why I say just barely. I think if it's a 7-game series, the Warriors win it. But if this is a series anything less than 7 games, it's the Rockets winning it, because I think they'll grind it out with keeping this as a low-scoring game with multiple lead changes to stagnate the Golden State Warriors shooting and expose their ball security while forcing them to play their way. So that's my thoughts. Ime Udoka did it with the Celtics. I think he can do it again with the Rockets. Doesn't matter that they're a young team.